In this presentation, I'm going to be talking about the key features in the musicals Chicago, Les Miserables and Mamma Mia. Starting off with Chicago, it is a crime and comedy musical. This means it has lots of criminal acts in it, but they are made out in a light-hearted way, so the audience does not feel emotionally attached to the characters, especially the characters who are murdered. The play was written in 1926 by Maureen Dallas Watkins. Maureen Dallas Watkins was a reporter at the play is based on true events which she encountered whilst reporting. The different forms in the musical are solos. For example, there's Funny Honey, sung by Roxie Hart in the opening of the musical. There are also all-girl numbers, which are sung by an all-girl chorus, such as Cell Block Tango. This also links to the theme of empowerment of women, which I will speak about later on. The structure of the musical is libretto and it's also narrative. This means that it is a story, it's told through song and dialogue. The songs do not relate to the storyline whatsoever, they're purely just there for entertainment and they don't back up anything to do with the storyline. A massive theme in Chicago is the empowerment of women. Obviously the whole thing is about women in prison, why they've been there, because they've murdered their husbands or people that they were seeing. That means a lot of murder with men, so men are already on the lower hand. This is also backed up by Roxie's husband. He feels like he's kind of left in the shadow, no one really hears about him, speaks about him, he's rarely on stage as well. The song Both Reach for the Gun, We Both Reach for the Gun, also, kind of contradicts this theme as well though, because it's Billy Flynn who is singing the song, and the interviewers are interviewing Billy Flynn and Roxie Hart. However, Billy Flynn is controlling what Roxie does and what Roxie says. So she and the choreographer has Roxie Hart sat on Billy Flynn's lap with the hand behind her back, and she's miming what he is saying. So three main characters in the musical are Roxie Hart, who is a female lead, Velma Kelly, who is also a female lead, and Billy Flynn, who is a male lead. There are more female leads than there are male leads, as this shows also the empowerment of women, and it brings the storyline mainly on a focus to the women. So the music elements of the musical, there is a heavy influence of jazz music. It's a musical jazz combination, so it's quite like cheesy jazz. There are lots of instruments such as trumpets, all things that you would relate to jazz and blues music. This also ties into the dance elements of the musical as well, as because there is a jazz feel to the music. The women also dance very jazz-like. They use lots of hip movements, and this makes it quite sultry and quite sexy. This shows the sex appeal to the musical. It also shows that the women can be manipulative with their sex appeal. And it also shows the Fosse style. They use lots of these kind of hands, and in We Both Reach for the Gun, they use the chicken head. So there is character development in Chicago. This comes under dramatic elements. We see character development in Roxie. It's like she goes from A in her life to B in her life and then back to A in her life. So she wants this publicity, she wants more, she's always seeking more. And then she goes to prison and we see her become strong, she's in charge, she's powerful, she's getting lots of publicity. And then as the musical slowly goes on, we see that she slowly starts to fade away and she goes back to living her normal everyday life. So now moving on to the musical Les Miserables. The genre of the musical is a book musical. And it's also focused on the narrative. This is shown with every single song that is in the musical relates entirely to the storyline. There is only a tiny bit of dialogue, which means that they rely strongly on the music to tell the story. And the musical is also based on a play called Les Miserables. So because the musical is pretty much all song, there are lots of forms of songs. There are solos, duets and big chorus numbers. These solos, each character has their own different style of singing. They have the characters have their own given melody, and this is shown in the character Eponine. She has her song On My Own, and if you listen to the song, it sounds just the same as A Little Fall of Rain, which is a complete different song. However, they sound the complete same. This helps the audience to recognise the characters, as there are a lot of characters in the musical. And there are also strong chorus numbers, like I said. This means that they are very, very, very powerful, as the chorus are a huge group of people. The narrative, it makes all the characters come together, and the strong chorus numbers show the climax and the highlights of key points in the musical. So, as I said, in the forms of songs, the structure of the musical is a complete sung-through musical, and there is hardly any dialogue. So a key theme in Les Mis is the French Revolution. Pretty much the whole stimulus for Les Miserables was the French Revolution and the crisis it caused to the French citizens. There's also the social class, as obviously the French Revolution was about the poor fighting the more wealthy. There's also a big theme of love. There's successful love between Marius and Cosette, and then there's also defeated love, as Eponine falls in love with Marius. However, Marius does not feel the same about her, and Eponine ends up being killed at the barricade. So there are many characters in Les Miserables, and there are three female leads. There's Fantine, Eponine and Cosette. Obviously there are more, but these are three that I'm using as an example. There are also three leading men. There's Jean Valjean, Marius and Javert. Every single character intertwines with each other. Somehow they have a link with one another, and we see that as the musical develops. This also means that these songs, which we understand their melodies and we relate to each character, it helps us understand and it helps us see where these characters link. So now moving on to the music elements of the musical. In the introduction there's a song called Look Down. All of a sudden we have this huge introduction of music. There are instruments such as drums, there are violins, there are trumpets. This also links to the scene, as it shows the power of the whole French Revolution. It also relates to the intensity of the work that the people were doing in the prison in the scene, and the trumpets and violins almost sound like a scream. So this also helps us to understand the torture and the pain that people are going through. The whole musical is with a classical orchestra. This kind of gives off a perfection feel. It makes it seem very classical and very well put together. So with the dance elements, it is pretty much simplistic dance. Even in big numbers, such as Lovely Ladies, that is a very big number with lots of female dancers. However, they're all on a spinning revolver in the stage, and they're just using arm gestures. This is so that the audience can mainly just focus on the emotional side, as it is quite a comedic song, but it shows you the real struggle that people are going through. There are also pretty much no uplifting moments in the musical, and when big dancing numbers happen, it highlights a happy point in the musical. However, because there are not that many, there are not that many dance breaks. So we also see the character development of Jean Valjean. We see him starting off in a prison as a prisoner, and then we also see him develop and become who he is in the end. who he then becomes the mayor of town. The whole musical also gives a dramatic element of just showing us the impact of the French Revolution and what it had on the citizens. We see this with the barricade scene. It's pretty brutal. A child gets shot on stage, which no one really expects. And there's one part of the musical where the barricade turns around and we see the characters flopped over the barricade with blood on them, and it's a very effective and dramatic moment. So now moving on to the musical Mamma Mia. The genre of the musical is a jukebox musical. This means it's a musical made purely based on the music, which was done by a pop band called ABBA from 1972. They were very, very famous. This means that it's set for a very wide target audience, as lots of people listen to the music. And it also means that it will reel people into watching the musical who tend to not watch musicals. So the forms of songs, we have solos, duets and massive chorus numbers such as Mamma Mia and Dancing Queen. These are the most well-known songs and dances from Mamma Mia. The Mamma Mia and Dancing Queen. So the songs Mamma Mia and Dancing Queen show happy and uplifting points of the musical, whereas the songs such as Slipping Through My Fingers, which is a solo song by Donna, shows more of an emotional side to the musical. So the structure of the musical is a narrative. It has a beginning, middle and an end, and the songs are there purely just for fun. So the themes of the musical are love and confusion. They kind of tie in together as well. Sophie is confused as to who her father is, and then Donna is confused as to who she's in love with. She's also confused with who Sophie's father is as well. Another theme is also power of women. Donna is a single mum who has raised Sophie by herself, not knowing who her dad is, and she also has a business of her own. So there are Sophie and Donna, who are the main female characters. Sophie has her two best friends, and Donna also has her two best friends. This shows the relationship and the link of how similar Sophie and Donna are. There are also three lead male characters, who are Sam, Billy and Harry, and these are also both related to Donna and Sophie, which shows another reflection on both characters and how similar they are, which also shows the mother and daughter relationship. There's also Sky, who is Sophie's fiance. So going on to the music elements, the song called Our Last Summer is quite a moving song. It's very different to Mamma Mia and Dancing Queen. It has quite a rustic family feel, as Harry, one of the male characters, plays the guitar in the film version and sings to Sophie, and Sophie sings with him. This shows that there is a family bond, and the audience can see how Sophie really does think that Harry is her father, and it links to the confusion with Sophie, and it also kind of baffles the audience as well, as we are still left wondering who is the actual father. So with the dance elements, there are lots of sudden bursts of dance, and like I said in Les Mis, when a sudden burst of dance happens, it shows quite happiness, and because there are lots of them in Mamma Mia, it shows the type of musical, it shows how uplifting and fun Mamma Mia is to watch. The dance style is quite cheesy, it's very musical. There's lots of jazz hands, and lots of people in the film version look at the camera. This shows quite a cheesy feel, like when they're singing they look directly at the camera and they do like sudden head movements. With the dramatic elements of the musical Mamma Mia, we see a relationship change with Sophie and Sky. Although they're still in love with each other, Sophie kind of grows as a person in her journey to find out who her parents are and realise that they shouldn't rush their marriage, so they call their marriage off. We also see a relationship in the three men, Sam, Billy and Harry, as they do not know each other before they meet, and then with their common knowledge of Donna, they then grow a friendship and grow quite a mature bond. And we also see the relationship with Donna and Sophie grow. They have a fallout where they've always been complete best friends. They have a fallout, but it shows that they are growing both together as they're learning more about each other, and they're opening and talking about big things that they've never spoke about before, such as the parent. We also see the direct link between Sophie and Donna's friends, as we see this handshake that both Donna and her friends have and Sophie and her friends have. So thank you for watching my presentation on musical theatre performance. I hope you have thoroughly enjoyed watching.